Calling to order the March 10th Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. You start with the roll call.
Darren Lincoln. Here. Scott Conlon.
Here.
Thomas Davis. Not here. Sam Libby. Sam Libby.
Here.
Hannah Mulroy.
Here.
Nicholas Novello.
Here.
Randy Bradshaw Reyes.
Here.
And Council Liaison Sean McCoy is not here.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Dave.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda this evening. And if the board's let me do that, I'd like to read a quick presentation or a quick briefing I have here.
Please.
Great. So I'll try to turn this way so that the public can hear me too, but I know a lot of people showed up this evening. So at the February 10th CRAB meeting, during which the Distal Land Exchange was presented by staff, the board asked staff questions, expressed the need for more information related to the exchange, and questions brought forward by members of the public. Since the February 10th meeting, staff have been working to gather additional information, and more importantly, there are several changed conditions related to the negotiations with third parties, which will impact the land exchange analysis. These negotiations have progressed more quickly than anticipated, and the city is hopeful that they will produce beneficial results not only for the land exchange, but also for city interests in the region. In order to ensure that PRAB and the public are provided with the most timely, complete, relevant information for the land exchange process, staff needs to present this new information to council in an executive session before returning to PRAB. Staff would like to request that the board table today's hearing because we're meeting with City Council on March 18th for executive session on a range of matters related to city-owned properties in this area, including distal tall tracts. Depending on the outcome of the executive session, staff may need to withdraw the current land exchange proposal and bring back an updated referral from council. It incorporates the outcome of those discussions with council and negotiations with others who own land or have third-party interest in that area. Alternatively, staff will place this matter on a future PRAB agenda, likely in April or May. We appreciate the time that PRAB has given to the land exchange, and by resuming this hearing at a later date, we can make sure that the board members have the best available information before they make the recommendation to City Council. We also make sure that if people show up to speak on this topic, there still is a public invite to be heard, so you can share your thoughts and concerns to PRAB, so still have that, but again, they will have that additional time to take that into consideration.
Thank you, David. Sounds reasonable to me. So I move to amend the agenda and lay the land exchange on the table. And just a point of clarification, that means when I say lay the land exchange on the table, I mean holding the hearing until subsequent meetings. Do you have a second for that motion?
I second that motion.
Karen. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Unanimous. Okay, so that motion passes. So we will remove the distal land exchange from the old business section of the agenda, but we will still hear public comments in the public event to be heard section. Before we do that, though, we need to first approve previous month's minutes. So I want to just look at the board here. Were there any edits, comments on the previous month's minutes? Is there a motion to approve previous month's minutes?
Motion to approve minutes.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Second? Okay, all those in favor? Sam, 2. Okay, that also passes. Great. Okay, next up on the agenda is the public invited to be heard section. And again, so happy to see you all here and really looking to your comments, including on the distal property. So just some ground rules on this. You'll have about 3 minutes to speak, and please state your name and address for the record, and then I'll give you a 30-second warning if I read from this piece of paper so you know kind of how long it is.
You want to keep time? I'm going to keep time for you, Nick, or?
I got my handy-dandy stopwatch.
All right.
I'll practice using this thing. So, Ron, who's right first?
Ruby? Bowman?
In January, when the land exchange proposal was on City Council's agenda, it was presented to Council as a package which included the composting facility. The land exchange is not a standalone proposal. It has other elements. And there still remain a lot of unknowns about the land exchange / development proposal, which includes the composting facility. As an example, I don't know the timeline of the compost facility construction. I attended the February 25th Boulder County composting facility meeting, and after the meeting, I asked the consultant who's doing the feasibility study what the timeline was for the composting facility. When would it be built? She could not give me a definitive answer. She told me they would have a better idea once the feasibility study was completed. 2, I don't know exactly what the city plans to build on this besides the composting facility if the exchange goes through. I've heard the training center, office building will be built there, a commercial driver's license driving course will be built, and the recycling center and fire training center will be relocated there. I would like to know if all of these will be built at Distal and if there are additional specific developments being proposed. 3, I don't know the extent of subsurface contamination after Distal property. On-site gravel mining began in 1989 at Distal according to the Phase 1 environmental assessment report. That's 35 years of potential contamination. It would be prudent for the city to determine whether hazardous, toxic, or petroleum substances from the mining and asphalt operations are present in the subsurface at Distal and the extent of contamination there. In the 2019 Terracon, the environmental company hired by the city to complete the Phase 1 EA, recommended a Phase 2 environmental assessment, the subsurface investigation be completed. I gave you a few examples of what is not known about the land exchange development proposal. Here are examples of what we know for sure about the proposal. 1, it will be detrimental to our wildlife in the area and to our bald eagles at the confluence and along Boulder Creek. 2, it will pose environmental risk to our neighbors in Will County. 3, it will set a bad precedent for our open space program. Please reject the land exchange proposal. Thank you. Oh, and my name is Ruby Bowman, 1512 Left Hand Drive, Longmont.
Thank you, Ruby. Appreciate that.
Gordon Pedro?
Gordon Petro, 2639 Falcon Drive, Longmont. And I want to talk about the Distal Toll land exchange because I think it's important that you have a chance to hear my comments before next time it comes up. I want to emphasize a few comments I made last month during the public hearing. Quote, I do not oppose this land exchange, but I believe as an advocate for open space, the city code should be transparently followed. For me, that means chapter 14.52 of the open space disposition should be the guiding document throughout this process. I also believe Pratt should receive from Public Works all relevant information and complete analysis of both properties involved in the proposed exchange. The city code creates a special role for Pratt because this entity was the most involved in the open space program. End quote. This special role makes Pratt the eyes and ears for the residents. They depend on you to ensure open space is kept whole. After reading your packet for tonight's meeting, I do not believe this is a land exchange. I think it's a land grab by the Public Works Department. I make this observation because Pratt still has not received timely, relevant information. Last month, you asked for several specific responses to questions. Those responses are not in your packet tonight. Why? However, in your packet tonight, for the first time, there is a report from Terracon, a consultant. This is a geotechnical report dated May 17, 2024 that was done for Public Works for a possible warehouse building and office for the Distal property. Is this called the cart before the horse? That report is nearly a year old. As a former city manager, I can only conclude one of two things. Public Works staff is incompetent, or 2, Public Works staff is convinced that the city manager and the city council support this land grab, and they merely are looking for Pratt to rubber stamp this sham of the land exchange. I think it is option 2, which means crab will be complicit in a sham process if you have not insisted on getting all the information you should have. I encourage you to use crab's role as laid out in the city code. Don't make recommendation until you have all the information you requested, and that is spelled out in section 14.52 of the city code. If you feel compelled to recommend approval tonight, and I know it's not going to happen tonight, but anytime, this so-called land exchange, I strongly recommend you add stipulations as recommended by Daniel Wolford and Sherry Malloy in your packet tonight. Thank you.
Dan Wolford.
My name is Dan Wolford. I live at 1850 3rd Avenue. I'm pretty familiar with this land acquisition as I was the city's open space manager for 23 years. And my comments are on pages 24 and 25 of your packet. Just a couple comments. In your most recent packet, as Gordon mentioned, you've got 2 pretty significant reports from Terracon. My question is, why now? Why weren't those included in the initial packet for your additional information? And why is that presented to you by a member of the public and not public works staff? You've got, part of that packet, you have the primary or the preliminary geotechnical report for the distal property. Where's the report for the Tull property? Is there a predisposition that this was going to happen? You tell me. The other thing, a couple comments that I have too is Ordinance 0-1970 clearly states in the land acquisition and the lease back to aggregate industries that there will not be open bodies of water and that it was to be reclaimed as uplands and minor wetlands. Who's changed that? I mean, I understand the federal government does their own thing without, following the law, but certainly ordinances are laws that are being required to abide by. Maybe that's part of what's being discussed at, council with some of the changes in that ordinance. And the reason we asked that the ponds not be included, if you remember the flood of 2013, there were numerous on-stream ponds that were breached that created significant damage. And our city manager promised that he would have a cost-benefit analysis to show the value of the water on the property, as well as to do a risk assessment. Anybody seen any of those? Lastly, again, this is a public information. I guess my final question is more to the legal staff. Council gave a direction for disposition to crab. There's a time limitation on that according to the ordinance. How does that, is council pulling that back? Are they going to redo it? I'm just curious. Thank you.
Danielle.
Danielle Terhune. I'm at 1710 County Road 20.5. I have submitted a public comment, but I just want to reiterate some of my thoughts here tonight. I know some of my fellow neighbors are going to be speaking, but I would just like to highlight how many residents are here. So if you live on 20.5, could you please raise your hand? We are all here because this land swap is very personal for us. It affects our lives, our homes, and even our livelihoods. Because some of us still farm the land. It feels like Public Works is just bulldozing their way into this land swap and compost recycling facility, treating us like a small afterthought, and it's very frustrating. At the eco-cycle and compost feasibility meeting, Boulder County stated that they were looking into 5 sites. Yet when asked at the crab meeting last month, the board was told that the distal site was the only piece of land available. Available for who? Boulder County or Longmont? Why is Boulder County not taking care of their own refuse instead of trying to shove it off onto Weld County? Why is this land swap and property being pushed for so hard when Boulder County is still in the initial stages of the process? What is the rush? Who stands to gain if the distal site is approved? We want and have the right to know the full scope of what is actually going on here. Beyond the effect that it will have on the residents, this land swap decision will also have an effect on the wildlife, which I believe others will touch on here. And it will also affect all of the other open spaces surrounding the distal site. Any loose garbage, compost, recycling will be blown not only onto our properties, but also St. Vrain, Greenway, Toll, and even Sandstone Ranch. We get excessively high winds. Why even have these other open spaces if they're just going to be littered with trash? Last month, it was proposed to have some kind of buffer around the facility, and when that is not enough to keep the smell and refuse contained, who is going to be responsible for cleaning up the mess? Additionally, a compost facility will be an added burden on the infrastructure. It is a 2-lane county road with a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, and it's a speed limit that motorists see as merely a guideline. The road is used as a pass between Frederick and Firestone to Longmont and Boulder. We regularly have accidents at both ends of Road 20 and a half at County Road 7 and County Line Road. There was even a fatality right in front of the toll site last December. This is not the place for a compost and recycling facility, and I ask you to please vote no on the land swap.
George Avery.
How's everyone? My name is George Avery. I'm at 1757 County Road 20 and a half. I'm the property right in front of it. And I have 3 little girls, a new one on the way. I've lived out here 17 years, and I haven't been able to, I was looking forward to an open space for our family from 17 years ago, knowing that was going to be open space. And I'm trying to understand legally, tax-wise, what people voted on, why is Boulder County trying to dump their trash into Weld County. But most importantly, if you guys have been out to those properties, the toll property is in a floodway. Why are they trying to dump this on into a great land that was bought by taxpayers' dollars and possibly used for open space and trails and everything else? But if you go over there, it's a floodway, which has no benefit for open space. If you go to it, big holes in the ground, torn up to all the hell. Yes, you can put a water reserve there and you can do the water and everything else, but you guys are getting a raw end of the deal here. It's a bad deal, no matter what anybody says. And the only people that are here to gain is Longmont and Boulder County by dumping their trash into Weld. And I think there's, legal ramifications here that are serious to the community in the area. And I'm an entrepreneur. I get where people want to do this stuff, but we have legalities that we have to follow. But if you guys get a chance, go drive, come over and visit me, and I'll show you the properties of this is a bad deal. It's already deemed open space because they can't do anything with the land, so they're trying to junk you off on this other deal. My whole thing is, where does the line get drawn? Where does the force of power get drawn in this when it becomes Boulder County, Weld County, and everything else? And I did reach out to our commissioners, and they're like, we haven't even heard anything. This is all stuff we're hearing grumblings about it, but it sounds like typical Boulder County pushing their stuff onto other communities when we want open space. If we were able to vote in Longmont and Boulder County, it'd be a whole different level. But you got to look at the families. You got to look at the livelihood. You got to go look at the properties and understand it's a bad deal. It's a junk deal. I mean, you've got a water reserve over there that's already deemed open space because of the floodway. So, my thing is, I think you guys need to get out and visit the site. I think it's, pretty bad it looks pretty dirty. It looks really dirty to a lot of people. And Weld County hasn't been, as far as I know, hasn't been contacted. Only grumblings they've heard from the Weld County commissioners that we spoke to today. The biggest thing is, what are we trying to do here? Everybody in Boulder, if Boulder County wants a composting and a municipal place, let's put it in Boulder County. Let's give it to them. But obviously, we're just out there, sitting there with no voice, no chance, no nothing, and it's going to be right in my front door. And I've heard everybody say composting facilities are, they don't smell, they're good, they're nice, they're good for everybody. Well, this is not an organic composting facility. It is hardcore composting. And that stuff, as soon as it blows onto my property, we got some serious issues. That's all I got to say. I just hope you guys to take it into consideration. Come out and visit us. We'll walk you through of what the issues are. And not to mention, I got about 12 nests of eagles that are sitting in the trees looking at everything, right? I got eagles all over, I got hawks, I got wildlife, we got everything that goes through there. You know, what is open space and Parks and Rec supposed to be about?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Sherry Mulroy?
Hi, I'm 3 minutes, right?
Yes.
Sherry Malloy, 1632 Sherman Way. Before this afternoon, I had a 1-minute speech prepared where I was going to request that should CRAB vote to approve this proposal to City Council, that a conditional clause be included saying that if Boulder County does not pursue this compost partnership, the entire proposal becomes null and void. I was also going to request the inclusion of the 11 protective measures from our former open space manager, Dan Wolford. These 11 points are on page 24 of your packet. Friends of Open Space representatives discussed these at our February 5th meeting with City Manager Harold Dominguez. Harold indicated these 11 safeguards to make open space whole were doable. Earlier today, I learned that there would be no staff presentation or any new information provided tonight. I'm dumbfounded. Last month, CRAB members voted 5-1 to continue this conversation to tonight's meeting to discuss additional information to be provided from the city and county. I wrote down the 6 questions CRAB members identified for staff to bring back for this meeting. These include, number 1, get more information from Boulder County regarding timeline, criteria used, suggested inviting a county representative to attend tonight's meeting. Number 2, to get information from Weld County regarding hurdles and process. Number 3, an answer to the question, what exactly does the city want on this land? Number 4, there was a request for more information on environmental impacts such as plastics. Number 5, staff was asked to look into designating more land and or bigger buffers on the east side to better protect the bald eagles. And 6, you also asked for a timeline and expense estimates for toll restoration that might make that timeline less than the 50 years that was in the council packet. More information about future water toll was also requested. These are pertinent, legitimate, thoughtful, and necessary information requests you need to have a more informed decision. Apparently, these unknowns remain unknown tonight. Your charge is to evaluate this proposal to determine if there is a benefit for open space. Because your questions have not been addressed tonight, you cannot possibly make a thorough and wise determination about this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nadine Lester?
Hello, I'm Nadine Lester, 1517 Mayfield Lane. And after David's announcement, my remarks are going to be a bit shorter. I'm glad to hear that there's more information that will be forthcoming. When I wrote to CRAB in anticipation of this meeting tonight, I was somewhat in favor of the land swap. I was confident that the Public Works Department would answer this board's questions and the community's questions about the Tull Distal property swap so that you could make an informed recommendation to City Council about it. You had questions and you gave the city a month to answer them. It seems I'm not the only one who doesn't understand why you didn't get the answers we all need about this deal. I still don't understand why significant details and reports were left out of the information you were given. Withholding information from a citizens advisory board so that you'll rubber stamp a proposal at the expense of the open space program seems suspicious and underhanded. If Public Works wants to move some of its facilities around, they can and should leave the city's open space property out of it. I think the neighbors in Weld County make a strong case against this land swap, pure and simple. I would tell Public Works that the Tull Distal properties ain't broke, there's nothing to fix. Please do not recommend this land swap. Thank you.
One more, Gary Hodges.
Hi, thank you. Gary Hodges, 2148 Stewart Street. So I'm also speaking in opposition of the land swap. I have 2 primary reasons. Generally, I believe it's bad precedent to exchange open space. So I'm sure a good argument could be made. Probably get up there and you could explain why it's a good idea and why it should go forward. But the voters, when we pass these taxes and such, we expect open space to remain open space. And if we start horse trading or saying, oh, this is a good idea to change it for this thing, there will always be a good idea that could be argued. And regardless if this one is good or bad, it starts setting the stage for the future, which is cascading impacts. And that would probably extend quite directly to what's happening in Kanemoto off South Airport, where that's currently set aside. It's called a conservation easement, but the public for years has understood it to be essentially open space. And that's exactly what's happening there now, is the idea, or in a way, that we can trade this out, or we can hold it as a conservation easement or open space for some period of time until we're ready to develop it or maybe trade it for something. And as a member of the public that's voted on these taxes and such, I don't like it, and it just starts giving elected officials the ability to horse trade too much. So second reason is I'm gathering this proposal, the proposed composting facility is the first move to eventually relocating the Martin Street recycling center out there. And if we actually care about what is promised by community recycling, which is saving resources, obviously, moving to the distal property would be a huge negative. So if you buy a TV or an appliance, and then you drive down to Martin Street and drop your box off or your old water heater or whatever, it's already a net negative. I can assure you the resources consumed by the gasoline and such is not paying back with that cardboard box or that hot water heater that you drop off there. And if you move it out to Martin Center, if it ends up out in Martin Center, it's just going to exacerbate that negative impact that we're having. So that's it. So opposition, bad precedent, and it also, if we move the recycling center out there, it'll just exacerbate currently a bad situation.
Thank you, sir. Lots to reflect on. Thank you all. Okay, we will move on in the agenda to new business. And the new business here, we're going to talk about 2020. Oh, what's that?
Looks like we have a member of the public that.
Oh, fine. Who's this signed up? Okay.
Thank you. My name is Jamie Seymour. I live at 517 Independence Drive. I was present at last month's CRAB meeting, and I was witness to the discussion regarding the proposed land swap of distal open space for total open space. And I was disappointed to note that there is no presentation this evening to address the outstanding questions advisory board members have for staff. CRAB's role tonight, well, it'll be next time, I guess, is to provide its recommendation to City Council on whether the distal toll exchange should take place. But how can it give an educated recommendation when it doesn't have all the facts of the exchange? Chapter 14.52.030 of the Longmont Municipal Code provides for the disposition of open space, whether that's for sale to another landowner or to another city department. A land exchange may also be conducted if the City Council, quote-unquote, determines that the value of any land to be obtained in the exchange is of equivalent value, taking into account the relative size of both parcels, the ecological value of the parcels, and whether the obtained parcel would better meet the purposes of the open space program than the current parcel. Where is this assessment? I have not seen a formal write-up of the value of both properties so that any such determination can be made. Why are the Terracon reports from May 2024 that were included in the packet for this meeting not included in the February packet? I realize that aggregate will deal with the cleanup and restoration of any hazardous materials on the site at the end of their lease. However, I'm concerned about the reference to an 84-acre project site for the construction of a warehouse and an office building on quote-unquote either of two sites. Was the plan for these buildings scrapped? Is that why this report wasn't included in CRAB's packet? If not, the mere existence of this report directly contradicts the city's statement on their website that land uses will be considered later, and nothing is being built at this time. It would appear from this report that the city was already considering building on Distal prior to any talk of a compost facility or land swap. As mentioned by Dan Wolford in his comments at last meeting, the lease agreement ordinance for Distal Toll, Ordinance 2019-70, eliminated water storage as the final reclamation plan for Tull, instead providing for reclamation by fill and the establishment of native prairie vegetation with possible upland and or minor wetlands. How then can water storage now be on the table for the Tull property when it was strictly prohibited in the lease agreement? I wholeheartedly agree with his assessment that water storage ponds near St. Bernard Creek are risky in a flood. Indeed, the 2013 flood was the reason water storage was nixed from the reclamation plan for Tull in the first place. Finally, leaving aside the dubiousness of locating a Boulder County facility in Weld County and the potential disruption to nearby nesting bald eagles from construction, I will remind you that Boulder County is considering several other sites for its compost facility. If they choose a different site, what is the net gain to the open space program and Longmont residents in general from this land swap? I ask Pratt to recommend that City Council deny the land swap. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Okay. Any more? This time for real. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you again, Jamie. Okay, we'll move on the agenda to new business, and that is looking back at 2024 and all of our accomplishments and challenges. So who is kicking us off on this? Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you. Take another moment here for those who are heading out.
Get better seat.
Okay, I think we're ready. You're ready.
So Jim will get us set up here. Again, I just want to let Pratt and those who stayed tonight. This is one of, I think, my favorite things is every time staff comes together, to really see the work that we do all in one spot is always impressive to me. I hope you get a chance to really see what we're doing out there. Not many people do. And we have a lot of great staff here tonight to answer questions directly to, which I really appreciate them all being here and giving up the time to see me to be available for you. So with that, Jim, would you?
It's stuck in the middle of the presentation. This is like 40 slides.
Okay. So as soon as we get these technical difficulties taken care of, we will move on to the.
Hi. How are you guys? You have the conch shell. You have the conch shell. There you go.
So we did this last year, and so we wanted to get together, so we could have board members, and we just wanted to go through kind of some of those goals we'd identified last year, our progress on those goals, and then some of our goals coming into 25. So and ask questions as you see slides if you feel the need. So I'm going to start off with the Parks and Trails Development Team. So our Parks and Trails Development Team.
Are we sharing that with Sam?
That's a
It
good
is.
question. Screen sharing.
Yep.
It is, yeah. Sam?
I can see it fine, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the Parks and Trails Development Team consists of 4 project managers. So we have Steve, who's been with the city for 24 years. Tatiana, who's over here a year and a half. Trish, also over here a year and a half, and Elisa, 7.5 years. So this is the team that's making all this stuff happen. So what do? So we do master planning, project management, as I had mentioned. A lot of community engagement comes with all of the projects that we're currently going under design or at some stage in the project, as well as always taking into consideration environmental factors on the projects, how to reduce the amount of landfill. I would use an example, for instance, Thompson Park recently under construction, and so a big idea Lisa had was to relocate all the sand from the playground and move it to the beach at Dickens. So we didn't, have to dispose of the sand, but we actually reused the sand. So always trying to think outside the box that way. Also, looking at our policies and procedures, just kind of like process improvement is an ongoing effort. And so that was a big focus of ours last year as we were in the team. And then being subject and technical matter experts. So we do have team members that represent our group in the development review committee, and just lending that insight to some of the development projects and you know what those right-of-ways look like and how those touch parklands and trails and things. So at a glance, in 2024, we had committing working capital value for our projects of $23.6 million. We completed 7 projects, which we'll get into. We utilized 4 different project delivery methods. So design, bid, build, best value approach, design, build, and cooperative purchasing, as well as utilized 3 separate types of funding in our project work. So capital funding, federal funding, and some BOCO sustainability tax funding. So one of our goals last year was to improve our team workflow, because we were a new team. So we did a lot of sticky board sessions to identify processes. Everyone put all their thoughts on the board, and we got up there and rearranged them until they made sense, and then documented it. So the first one we did was, how do we do a CIP? Because that came right at the beginning of the year. So we also have been focusing on data-driven planning. I know Tatiana's presented to you the gap analysis effort that she's been doing, utilizing GIS, and now has put it into the story map format of GIS, so it really tells the story of, you know, as in comparison to Vision Longmont and Parks and Trails master plan, how are we measuring against those things? Are those things still consistent? Are we seeing any changes or variances in what that was projected at about 10 years ago? So this is a tool constantly in development, and we'll continue to share those updates with this group. Team certification. So in 24, Tatiana received her SEPTED training, which is crime prevention through environmental design. Leadership Longmont is a program here for local leadership, and Elisa completed that program in 2024, or the end of 2023, technically, close to that. CPSI, so that Certified Playground Safety Inspector, Steve took that exam and course and passed that this year. And then Tatiana was also certified on a peer support team. So is that a citywide group that meets, and then your support for internal in the company. And then Best Value Approach B+, Best Value Certification. So Elisa, Trish, Tatiana, myself all completed that coursework as well, and we're certified. So another goal was to improve our collaboration with our parks operations team. So we started meeting with them once a month and developing how are they involved with designing construction processes. So kind of the same scenario as we did with our team, post-it notes on the board, a lot of brainstorming, and then categorizing and documenting, and then always keeping these out and available. When we have a mess in a project or something that we need to make a note on, we take a sticky note, we plop it up there. Once a month or so, I'll revise the digital copy. But we also work closely with park operations to start projecting our CIP forecasts over 10 years to see how our funds are sustainable or not sustainable for the current either FTEs that are hitting them, operational budgets that are hitting them, or CIP projects. So that's been an ongoing effort, and it's been great to tell the story of kind of where we are and where we're going. So into the fun project stuff. So one of our goals of 24 was to complete Clover Meadows Park, and we did in November. Another one was to complete Dry Creek Park, the new turf and lighting at the sports fields there. Those were actually first programmed 2 weekends ago, striped. There's recreation. They were striped, and so I know firsthand that Tatiana's son played on this last week with his soccer club. But since we did get an email from someone, and I'm going to read it because it's positive feedback. Dry Creek's our best facility venue. The field turf is awesome. The lights came on, and it took the place to another level. You hit the mark with this new facility. It was worth waiting for the past couple of years. And that's from the Longmont Indoor Soccer and Boulder Indoor Soccer group. So that was great to see. Spring Gulch Phase 2, we provided assistance to our street engineering team, and that was completed in 2024 to connect Union Reservoir to Sandstone Ranch. Then Trish worked to have the Kensington restroom reconstructed after an accident several years ago. Elisa worked to make repairs to the pedestrian bridge at Oligarchy, where it crosses over near Long's Peak. I can know exactly where that was. Roosevelt Park Rose Garden, so some bed edging that's been wanting to happen on the outermost bed. So Lisa also took that by the reins and completed that project last year, as well as some ADA sidewalk improvements outside the Roosevelt Senior Center. That entryway didn't meet the intent of ADA, so she stepped in and helped to get all of those repairs made. And then Tatiana worked with our transportation engineering group to get some bike racks installed over at Golden Pond as a result of some community members' inquiries. So I think 6 new bike racks were installed over there. And so we've already knocked one project off our list for 25. So this weekend, I don't know if anyone noticed that Thompson Park was open. Sam, did you notice?
Absolutely, I was there both days. Thank you guys.
Okay. So it was literally, the last thing was playground surface attenuation testing on Saturday. And we said, okay, so if it passes, the fence comes down. If it doesn't, we've got more work to do. So what time did they take the fence down?
On Saturday, they took it down at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And how long until it was packed with people?
It was packed before that.
Okay. We didn't even announce its opening, but everyone was watching and waiting, so. Yeah, so that's a really exciting new playground. Everyone should go check it out. It has a really nice sand play feature with kind of some logs and some boulders. It has some, the poured in place with the mounds and the fun little like younger kid playground, and then the big kid playground it's got a lot of opportunities for climbing, so super fun. So coming up, we've got Fox Meadows. That's going to be coming up for substantial completion end of this month. Right now, they're working. They've got the restroom, the shelters in, the playground in, the zip line in, the bocce in. So the last piece is the remaining concrete flat work, and then some of the landscaping. Now, the landscaping will come a little bit later in some of the areas just based on weather. But that one is certainly not far behind. And then Nino Gallo. So they should be coming to completion with the pond, the raw water pond, and then they've done a lot of the site work already on the park site. A lot of the utility work is complete, so now we're kind of working towards some of the more fun pieces with, playground installation and other things. This is slated to be completed by the end of the year. Coming up, we have Roosevelt Park Playground and Fitness. So that design is a design build. Lisa's the project manager. Its kickoff is coming spring of 25, potentially April, to start that design effort. So that's the new playground and adult fitness course outside of the senior center. And then Garden Acres Pedestrian Bridge, the design is complete. Tatiana's the project manager. She's going to put that out to bid, but with a construction start date in November to follow the ditch season when it has the water going through it. We're going to be reusing one of the stored bridges from the Resilient St. Green project on that. Quail Campus is getting a new playground at their daycare at the rec center. Trish is overseeing that project, and the installation of that playground and courting place will be the May-June timeframe of this year. Tatiana is overseeing the cooling amenities project at Lanyon Park, and this is utilizing some federal funds, ARPA funds, as well as Boulder County Sustainability tax dollars, and I think that's it on the Lanyon.
A little bit of capital.
Well, that's for Kensington.
Oh, that's good.
So this is the new, like a little misting pad. They're still working through the design on this, but it'll ultimately have some seating, some gathering space, and a misting feature. There's a lot of developed trees through here, so they're just looking for a nice community space where they can gather and talk, be with each other. And then Kensington, as she had mentioned, is the other kind of sister project to this. The same funds, but in addition, it'll have some capital dollars that we had set aside for the Kensington renewal, as well as, we'll find out on Friday, but pretty certain that we have some GOCO grant money coming in for a splash pad here that's a little bit more than a misting feature. So that'll be pretty exciting. That would go down the new seating area in amphitheater, where they would gather, would go down by the labyrinth, and then that's where the splash pad would be. And they're putting in a new shade structure there as well, so they can have a shaded area to meet. And then Sandstone Phase 4. So Trish is starting this one out. So another 4 ball fields and all of the associated pieces and parts. So that'll be a best value approach, and you're working through getting that RFP together, so that should be going out by end of spring-ish, beginning of summer. And then Hover Acres Park renewal is the next renewal coming. It's also going to be a best value approach, and that document part for the RFP is underway. It's probably on the same timeline as far as the RFP going out. And Dog Park 1, so that design kickoff is pending the risk evaluation and then the city attorney's office signature, and that will be executed accordingly. So that is our overview of last year and what's to come. Are there any questions? Erin?
I don't remember what the improvements were for the dog park.
Oh, so it's, so there was gonna be a water feature. It's been a bit since I've actually talked about what the school was, but they were gonna do, a new shelter in the other area, because right now there's only a shelter on one side. There was discussion of you reutilizing the museum shelter that was salvaged. What wasn't known, now that the design team has looked at it, was that it was a custom feature and they cut a lot of the welds and we aren't certain that all the pieces are there that we need. In the interest of the budget, we're gonna go ahead with the new shade structure there, and it'll also better match the one that's out there. So as I mentioned, a water source for the dogs, ADA improvements, and beyond that, whatever the budget can allow.
Hello, my name is Bryce Overy. I'm your Senior Parks and Open Space Ranger. It's Chelsea Wilson. She's your Senior Ranger over at Union Reservoir. We'll talk about some of our accomplishments from last year and what we're hoping to accomplish this year. There we go. Cool. So in case you don't know, I get asked all the time, like, what does a ranger do? What do the Longmont Rangers do? We even call them Longmont Rangers. I still get those questions. So just to cover what we do, it's a lot of outreach and education. So that can be through resource referral to people experiencing homelessness. It can be hikes and walks with children, kind of any sort of natural resource education opportunities that we get in the field. Whether that's informal contacts at Golden Ponds talking about beavers or formally scheduled walks and talks with an elementary school. So you can kind of range. And then we do, of course, customer service at Union. People pay to come there, so we feel like they're our customers, so we're providing them with a good resource there. We also do resource protection, so that can be through A&S inspections of incoming watercraft at Union to make sure they don't have any nasty mussels or Eurasian water milfoil or anything else we don't want in the water there. I think we did close to 2,000 inspections last year, somewhere around there. Yeah. We also have forestry projects up at Button Rock. It's a lot of forestry management that I don't necessarily do, but Price, our Senior Ranger up at Button Rock, does a lot of forestry work up there. Then we do prescribed burns, either in town or we did a whole bunch of pile burns up at Button Rock, the forestry projects as well. Of course, we do code enforcement, so that can be a simple verbal warning, written warnings. We can see to court if it needs to go that far. We can call in CPW if it needs to go that far. So that's obviously one of our focuses, to keep the land safe and protect the resource. And then public safety, so that's EMS, wildfire suppression, and then water rescues. Water rescues is probably my favorite part of the job. It's really fun, as long as they turn out good. So, so far so good. I've had a lot of luck with that, and we do a lot of them. Okay, so far our staffing right now, we have 7 FTE Rangers, 3 Senior Rangers that kind of reside over 3 districts, Button Rock, Union, and then Parks and Open Space. We've got 2 Ranger 2s, and then 2 Ranger 1s that have their own districts under the Senior Rangers. Then right now we have 5 temp Rangers, 5 based out of Union, and then 2 Button Rock. So I think when I first started, there was myself and 2 FTEs based out of Union, and we had 2.5 seasonals. So that was 3 years ago. We've come a long way from 3 years ago. A lot better staffing. We can cover either side of the week. We can cover big events like 4th of July and shut down Dickens if we need to. So definitely am happy with that number. It's a lot better than when we first started. We can actually get some things done now. So I know that's small print, I'll just hit the highlights, but for our patrol statistics, we did over 1,500 code enforcement contacts. About 96% of that is ranger initiated, so that's us finding things, not things being reported to us. So we're out there finding things, going on our own, and not necessarily being dispatched a whole lot. We're trying to get dispatched more, but that's a work in progress right now. We did 102 emergency response incidents. I'd say a vast majority of those are going to be paddle boarders in the water. That's probably the vast majority of those, or turtle sailboats. 15 medical calls that can range from bike wrecks to sprained ankles and dislocated knees on the beach. Then for resource protection, we did 2,500 ANS inspections. That's almost double from what we did in 2023. 588 maintenance issues that can go from graffiti to illegal dumping, and then 33 camps cleaned up. That's usually done by a contractor, so it takes some organizing to get done. But in outreach and education, we had 8 interpretive programs last year. I think we've already done 4 this year and another one next week, so we'll probably go way past that number this year. Almost 500 outreach contacts, so a lot of that is people experiencing homelessness, giving them resources to kind of get out of that situation and make it better for them. And 93 citizen assists, that can range from locking my keys out of my car to I need help fixing my bike chains. It can be just about anything. And this is our Survey 123 map that basically every incident that we encounter, we put a dot on the map. So you can pretty much just delete the map and then follow the greenways. It's just all along the greenways. You can find Macintosh pretty easy. You can find Union pretty easy. So that's our hotspots for contacts. It's logged just about everything we do. We say it doesn't happen unless you put it on survey. So we try to keep a good log of everything we do out there. So that's in town, and then the same for Button Rock. You can pretty much delete the map and just follow the road all the way in to the lake. Any questions there?
What are those cool things on the outside that I want to go?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to know what the outliers were.
I think that was a search and rescue out in Folsom Gulch where they were kind of out lost back there.
Okay.
Yep.
Some of our accomplishments for last year were that multiple rangers got certified in instructor trainings. So we have 2 defensive tactic ranger trainers now that we can do in-house trainings. We had been doing trainings with Longmont PD, and now that we're not going to continue to do those, and they're great, but we would like to continue to do more training on our own. And it just doesn't coordinate our schedule with PD as much, where we can do in-house training. It's much easier to coordinate that a lot better. We have a new ice rescue trainer who did our first official ranger-led ice rescue training this past season, which is Bryce, which is awesome.
That's a bug.
And then ATV safety, we have one ranger who is now an ATV instructor, and one of our open space folks is also a instructor, and I got to go through her training this week, and it was awesome. So if anybody gets to go through ATV training, it was really fun. We did some updates to the muni code in order to protect public land systems better and kind of clarify some things. We also implemented that all of our full-time rangers were wearing body-worn cameras, and we were able to increase that to give our temp rangers body-worn cameras as well. We've seen a lot of better compliance with rules when you know that you're being videotaped, as well as its transparency and accountability for us. Not that I think that we have any issues with rangers, but it also shows that we are doing our job, and what we say that we are plainly talking to people and not screaming and ordering them around. Our city attorney and everyone else can see that we are doing our job properly in the way that we are supposed to be doing it. I revamped our aquatic nuisance species program. Prior to me starting last year, I started January of last year. They were not doing the exit inspections, which is not a huge deal. It's just, makes it easier on the incoming side if you have returning boats that you've already done the full clean, drain, and dry inspection, make sure that there's nothing going out. That way the incoming inspection is a lot faster, as well as if they go to another body of water, it's a lot faster that they know that a certified instructor has inspected it and they're good to go. So in 2023, they did 35 outgoing inspections, and I increased that number to 653 for 2024. So way over 50% increase. But my goal is to continue our coordination with Colorado Parks and Wildlife and their aquatic nuisance species team. There's no way that we're ever going to do 100% exit inspections. It just doesn't happen. Like if I'm on the water rescuing somebody, I can't inspect somebody's boat who's exiting, and our boaters understand that. But it's our goal to get at least closer to that 100% if we can. And then we did originally have all 7 of our attempts returning between Button Rock and Union and open space. However, one of our temp rangers got a full-time job as a ranger with the city of Fort Collins, which congratulations to him. But we were able to, Bryce and I did interviews for the just-in-case scenario if they did get a full-time job, and we already have somebody started, and they will start on the 24th. So we're excited for a new person to add to our team. Some more accomplishments for us. We started to work with our social media team in order to get a Longmont Ranger presence out on the social media so that people can see the friendlier side of Rangers instead of kind of the fun police side of Rangers, which is kind of sometimes what we have to do. So we're doing posts for the Facebook and Instagram. And then we also have a Ranger representative on the peer support team, as well as that same Ranger representative is also on the LEU's dive team and goes out and is trained to do dive rescue things. So that's pretty awesome for us, especially if we ever needed help with anything at Union. They did actually come out and save me this summer because I had a Hobie cat that flipped over. He didn't have a float on his mast, and his sail and everything just got clogged with water, so the dive team was able to go down, put a float bag on it, lift the mast, and then we were able to flip him back upright. So I've convinced that boater he now needs a float on the top of his mast. Will he do that? I'm not sure. So, park improvements for Union Reservoir. So we're trying to better orient the way traffic goes inside the park, just because it is a small park. I've got small roads. I don't have a lot of land room inside, so trying to improve traffic flow. In our dog beach area, we had some social trails, as it happens when you have dogs, going on that caused erosion, so we've installed erosion barrier steps, which also helps with people too, because I'd prefer somebody to go down a step than a slide down a muddy potential bank. We've added some marker buoys in order to prioritize fishing areas for shore fishermen, especially over by our already designated fishing pier, and creating an area because I don't have a lot of land room, as I said, so trying to make all user groups happy when it comes to boaters and shore fishermen having the right of way when they are there fishing, and trying to explain that to paddleboarders. So marker buoys helps. We installed a new lifeguard shed and also then relocated it and got it on a nice concrete pad that it's not going to then plunge into my beach area. And then just increasing awareness at the dog beach for dog owners to pay attention to their dogs, because again, erosion control was one of the issues, but also the pet waste from people, having a great time and picnicking and everything else on the dog beach, but then it causes an issue when water quality and the fact that the reservoir is right there and people's dogs are pooping on the sand. Want to take Button Rocks?
Let me try. Yeah. Well, I was not prepared for this. So yeah, Button Rock, they increased visitor compliance with the new dog ban, for lack of better terms. Seems like they went out of their way to set up people for success with signage to the parking area. If you cross the point of no return, you're liable to get a ticket, but you do have, plenty of signage to warn you that dogs are no longer allowed there. So it was a rough first couple of months when they implemented that. We went with a lot of education that the rule actually changed. Then we just had a hard line of, okay, we're past the education phase. It's time to start writing some literature. It's gotten a lot better. They have still make contacts with people, but it's usually few and far between. So I think people have accepted the fact that it's not going to change, and there's plenty of other options for dogs. So the compliance with that has gotten a lot better. But it was a rough couple of months when it was first implemented. They were getting law enforcement contacts all the time on that one. They improved infrastructure security at Button Rock with gates and cameras. They had a long maintenance backlog that they're getting caught up on, so they've done a lot of work with trail maintenance, providing resiliency to their ranger station from wildfire. They've done a ton for forestry grants. I think Price has probably acquired over $1 million in grants in his time here, so he's excellent at that and securing money to do all these forestry projects for Button Rock. They've done a lot of work with the youth corps, with Longmont County and Boulder County Youth Corps with a lot of those forestry projects. Like I said before, they burned 600 plus flash piles this off season, so getting up there and lighting some fires that are well overdue. Finally was able to have a season where we could get up there and do that, so that was a good project for us. And then they did suppress multiple wildfires during the Colson Gulch fire in July, so getting to use our red cards is always good.
Some of our division goals for 2025 are to expand our ranger-led trainings. So since we do have instructor trainers, obviously we would like to use those certifications. And as part of continuing to have your certification is that you need to teach classes. So focusing on defensive tactics, EMS, ice rescue, and ATV. We would like to continue to advocate for Union Reservoirs park improvement, funding, and more staffing is always nice. Especially when everyone takes vacations and somebody's going to have a baby here soon. It would be nice to have more staffing.
That seems a little targeted.
Right during the summer, too. Plan it better. So our plan is also, it's passed through the first reading of City Council, but we had an issue where our ranger dock and our public dock and our boat unfortunately got pretty decimated through windstorms last year. And so in order to protect that, we want to create an additional breakwater that would be on the west side of a ranger dock that we would acquire to then protect that ranger dock. And it's going to be longer in order to then protect the public dock from what the current breakwater is right now. And then assist with the potential Union Loop Trail project.
Okay. So, like I said before, we'd like to increase our interrupt time. It can be a bit of a drag to just do code enforcement contacts all day long, so getting to do some of those interpreter programs and give back to the community that way is always something fun that we'd like to do. So, we're able to get more time to do that, do more scheduling, and kind of coordinate with the schools to get some more programming on board. We're able to increase our patrol time due to the increased staffing that I mentioned before. So I'm not stuck in the office all day doing what I need to do, or we're not handcuffed to Union when it's really busy there. We can still have people at Union and get that taken care of, but also send few people to McIntosh to deal with the 200 out of orders that are out there. Looking to install NDCs into our Ranger patrol trucks. Those are the laptops that you can get to CAD and dispatch from. It's been a 3-year project, so I'm hoping to have it done this summer. So we'll be able to jump on CAD, pull a lower priority call that PD's probably never going to get to, that we can absolutely handle in public lands. Then we're looking to start a drone program for the Natural Resource Department. PD has a pretty extensive one right now that we might semi-model it after, but it's good for, I have a 200-acre open space that I need to check for camps. instead of spending all day walking through that, I can just fly the drone, shoot it over there, and like, nope, no problems here, and then move on to the next site. So looking at more drone applications, but that's just one example of how it can be useful for the ranger team. And for Button Rock, they want to continue securing grant funding for their forward stewardship projects on the watershed. They're collaborating with Ecosystem Services for wildlife monitoring. I don't know if you guys saw the mountain lion video that they had up there. It's really cool. Expand the volunteer opportunities and equity initiatives up at Button Rock. Still strengthening our partnership with Boulder County Sheriff's Office Fire Management through the prescribed burns and pile burns that we did. That's all through Boulder County Sheriff's. We couldn't really do those projects without them. Then we want to strengthen our partnership with Longmont Fire through the spring burn season and prescribed burns. Again, we couldn't do that without Longmont Fire because they're a big support, lending us both people and equipment for those projects. So we'd like to keep doing that. They've been awesome. The whole of public safety has been awesome for the Ranger Department. So definitely want to continue partnership with them. That's it. Any questions for the Rangers?
I had one. Earlier slide, I think you said you had responded to 102 emergency response calls. And then you had mentioned that you were hoping to do more. Can you embellish on what you were having on? It seemed like you had something in your head.
For emergency response, looking to do more.
You had mentioned something like that.
I'm not sure what I was going to tell.
Okay.
It can vary because one year we had like 160 water rescues and the next year we had 72. So well, we can't make them fall in the water. So if it's us, that's great. That's great.
I think it was really like you dispatched.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep, so right now we're 96% self-dispatch. So that means 4% is coming from either another employee or a citizen. Obviously, there's more than 4% of the issues that need to be dispatched to us, but there's not an easy way for someone to get that information to us right now.
Okay.
I'm hoping that once we're on CAD, once someone calls dispatch, it gets copied as a low priority call. PD has 7 high priority calls, and they're never going to get to that lower priority one. It's just going to fall off. My hope is once we have CAD, we can see, oh, there's a low priority call at Roosevelt Park. I can handle that, and we're starting to respond to what's needed and what's reported.
Okay, great. So
That's
it's tied to the got it.
The 96 is great. It makes us look good. Like we're out there finding issues and taking care of them, but I know there's issues out there that weren't able to get to my screen. We're just hoping to address those.
And part of that is more partnership with public safety and Longmont PD so that the dispatchers know what our capacity is and where we can patrol and what our scope is as well. So sometimes they're like, well, I don't, I'll just send an officer because I don't know what rangers can do and where their jurisdiction is.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys.
Okay, I have one. You're
Yeah.
not off the hook.
Let's go.
Yeah, you said that you want to expand volunteer opportunities and equity initiatives at Button Rock. Well, I know what the volunteer opportunities are because I have done some. But what are your equity initiatives?
Be a good question for Price, who's unfortunately not here tonight. But I can get you an answer.
Ask my price. That's what I'm going to do.
Yep. I'm his proxy tonight, but I don't have a good answer for you.
You have the same name, just with an extra bump.
I usually just forward emails to them like, this is yours. They missed it, so yeah, we get this stuff all the time.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Aaron, we'll try and tackle that from the open space side of things, but we won't be able to answer everything like Price would answer it, but.
Okay. You can do voices. You can try
I'm Danielle. I'm the open space manager. This is the open space team. Half of us are here tonight. When we started off, we had 3 full-time staff and a temporary staff. Now we have 5.5 full-time staff, so we've been growing in the last couple of years. This is Ashley here and Taylor Gifford, and they represent our volunteer stewardship and education program. And we also have Kirsten Belch. We share her 50% of the time with recreation, and she is the environmental education coordinator out at Sandstone. And then we have 2 project managers on our team, Sarah and Justin. So I get a lot of questions about what the open space division does for both the public as well as staff in the city. So we do a lot of things, and this is a lot of words on one slide, and I'm not going to read it all to you either, but you can see the variety of things that we do. And I'm here giving you kind of the overview of open space, and then you're going to get a more deep dive into our volunteer stewardship and education program from Taylor here after I'm done. But we do various things in terms of land management, and we work a lot in conjunction with Jim Craig's ecosystem management team, because they're out in the field doing the operations. And we're here doing the planning and the acquisitions and the project management for open spaces. So quick overview, and I'm not going to do much here because Taylor's going to get much more into this, but you can see that our numbers are growing over time. We've got more staff, so we're able to do more things. And then you can see that volunteer stewardship hours really took a jump in 2024, as well as educational events. Ashley was bringing in educational events in a big way for the first time in 2024, and that really added to our program. So in 2024, we had a lot of accomplishments in various areas. One big one that you may remember is that we were able to, with public support of 73%, pass the open space tax in perpetuity. So it's no longer going to sunset in 2033. We are still working on our St. Vrain Greenway Trail project, but we're getting close to being able to put it out for construction bid. And so that's the section of the St. Vrain Greenway Trail, the last eastern section going out of the city, starting at Sandstone Ranch and linking into the St. Vrain State Park. We're also working on various other things in the project management realm. Why does that say St. Vrain twice? I think I meant to put St. Vrain 12 on here as well. And St. Vrain 12 is the very last section of St. Vrain that we'll work on. And we'll start in our Golden Ponds and head west and link into Boulder County's system. So we've been starting to do some work on that project. And a big thing that we did in 2024 is really grew our team. We have full-time staff, we have new staff, and we had promotions on our team. So we're sitting really strong in staff. So it's an exciting time for the open space division. And some of our goals for 2025, we've just got a few, but here they are. We have a lot of special projects, and so sometimes those are citywide projects, projects that we're helping on that are outside the city, and then we have things in these other categories as well. Land management. We get a lot of right-of-way requests, and so those are things where either external or internal entities want to use open space for various purposes, and so sometimes we may come to CRAB with a disposition of open space through the code process, but sometimes it's for things for like encumbering an open space with a conservation easement. So then we're putting further protections on an open space, protecting those conservation values in perpetuity, but it does count as it comes to the disposition of open space because those rights are being transferred to the entity holding the conservation easement. So that can be Boulder and Longmont conservation districts, Boulder County, the Nature Conservancy, the entity that's going to hold the conservation easement over our fee simple open space. And that's it for the overview slides, but now I want to go back. How can I do that? No, I want to get out so that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skip to that tab.
Stewardship Program Supervisor. I used to be a volunteer coordinator. Now, that is Ashley. This is actually Amber's. Ashley was promoted from seasonal temporary employee to full-time this year, which is awesome. We also, as Danielle mentioned, Kirsten Bell, who some of you may know, she was the volunteer coordinator out at Sandstone Ranch. She was also temporary. She's now full-time and supervised half by recreation, half by open space. So she's within our stewardship program is the new name of what myself, Ashley, and Kirsten all do together. So it's volunteerism and environmental education. Sorry, I'm outside of the PowerPoint. I was supposed to present at a different CRAD meeting, so I'm not included. But quick program overview. Mission statement, this is new. I'm developing a strategic plan a 5-year strategic plan for our program, so this will go right at the top. The City of Longmont Stewardship Program builds community connections through the care, conservation, and restoration of public lands. Through inclusive volunteer and education initiatives, we empower people of all backgrounds to protect natural resources, restore ecosystems, and foster a lasting culture of stewardship. Together, we cultivate a resilient environment while advancing equity, accessibility, and deeper community ties to the land and each other. That's what we do. I won't run through program vision because that's not every PowerPoint I've ever brought to CRAB, so you've probably heard it before. These are the logos for our current ongoing programs. So we have our Rose Gardeners at the Memorial Rose Garden in Roosevelt. We have our Raptor Nest Monitors, our Pollinator Gardeners, our Adopt a Park program. New program this year, we have a book club. This was requested by our volunteers. So we have an ecology-themed book club. We meet once a month. It's super fun. And that's in partnership with Rewild Within, which is a local organization that helps us with book accessibility and also helps lead the discussions. Citizen scientists, we do phenology walks, so tracking bud burst and when plants emerge in the spring and all that. And then we also do macrovertebrate data collection, things like that. And then we have our ecology crew, and they do all sorts of stuff. All related to restoration and ecology. A few highlights, I won't go crazy. This picture, we did an LGBTQ affinity event this fall. We restored some burn piles with seeds from past projects that we were trying to get rid of. It's a perfect opportunity. This is it was a education / stewardship event, so we did some garden maintenance, then did sort of a nature walk, reflection, kind of health and wellness walk around the pond at Rogers Grove, and then came and did some education in our greenhouse, which is right out back here. This is one of our pollinator planting events this year. This one was at, I think, Rogers Grove, it looks like. I think we did 6, maybe 7 of these at different locations this year, so lots of planting. This is at the Rose Garden. This was the project Stephanie was talking about earlier. This was Elisa's project. The new U beds out at the Rose Garden. Instead of plugging the roses back in, we put in native perennials, which is really cool. This is an interesting one. So this is a really well-spelled future flyer of ours. So Ashley had a really cool idea to reach out to elementary school teachers in Longmont and get elementary schoolers to create content for us to put on flyers to advertise our project. So this is an example of an art project that will soon be turned into a flyer for outreach for some of our upcoming events. This is cheating. This is not from 2024. This is from this past Saturday. We had a bunch of high schoolers come out and help us create bee logs, which is part of Jim's crew's grant opportunity or grant effort to track 5-year project to track native bee species on a variety of Longmont properties. This is a bat event where we had volunteers out at dusk and we identified a bunch of bat calls. Super cool. And this is Price at the Button Rock watershed talk or watershed tour, and that was in partnership with the Watershed Center. So we did a whole bunch. That just shows you a glimpse of it ended up being 79 projects actually that we did this year. for events. This is cool before and after. So this is out at Rogers Grove. This is one of our landscape beds before volunteers. It's kind of more of a jungle than a garden bed. And this is after volunteers. So that just gives you an idea of what we can do. I mean, this is genuinely something that, I can't remember the exact numbers, but Ben, supervisor for parks, estimated that, I mean, this is something that would cost thousands of dollars for a contractor to take care of. And instead, volunteers took care of it for free. And I think it took about a week. Oh, then in the background there's, well, it doesn't matter. This is also funded by one of the grants we're a part of. It's through Thorn Nature Experience. Here's another before and after. This is a turf conversion we did, funded by a grant that, a small grant that I got in the spring. So we implemented it in the fall. So we took this non-functional section of turf. This is out by like Bootstrap Brewing. I think it's 2nd and Terry. And we put like 700 plants in the ground there instead. So these are all native perennials. So it should be pretty cool. Big picture. Oh no, it doesn't fit. There we go. This just kind of shows you growth over the past 6 years. I came on board right around here, kind of mid-season 2021. And we've grown a fair amount. And especially this year, we really bumped it up. Now that we have Ashley on board full time, it's been huge. So yeah, we're growing constantly. We already went over our new kind of organizational chart, but this is sort of what it looks like. Kirsten Bell is sort of split between colors because she's shared with recreation, which is awesome. I was hoping she could come tonight. She's on vacation. She's lucky. All right, and then 2025. So I'm going to play a video in the background while I talk about this because it's a really cool video, but I don't want to take up y'all's time by making you watch it. I'm trying to volume down now. So just to preface, this is an event we did out of Button Rock this year. It was an education / stewardship / music event. Super cool. Ashley's idea. It was awesome. So it was this native seed collection / we had some ecologists come out and do kind of a walk with folks and introduce people to different plants we had out at Button Rock. And then afterwards we had a local musician who happens to be Ashley's partner. He did like a little show for us along the shoreline. It was really beautiful. Let's have that play in the background. So 2025, a few things we're doing. We have some grants coming into play or that are already in play. The big one, you guys have probably heard about a fair amount at this point, GOCO. That is coming up starting in 2026 and will go through 2031. It should be about $1 million over the course of those 5 years. I will come back when we have proposed whatever we're going to propose for that grant, and I'll probably have Thorn, who's our partner in that grant, come with me, and we can talk about that a little bit more. Nature Everywhere grant, this is an extension this is a 2-year grant that we got, I guess technically year before last, so we're running towards the end of that. It'll end in the fall, and we're working with Thorn again, and it's about $40K that we're working with this year to do equitable programming for youth in the outdoors, so nature-based programming for youth. Resource Central, that was the bootstrap planting turf conversion project. I wrote that in the spring, we got it, and actually I just got it again for this year as of yesterday, I think, so we'll be doing something similar again. And then also for this year, I just a couple weeks ago got told that we got a small like $10,000 grant called Metro DNA, which we'll use to run 3 projects, all of which are pollinator planting projects throughout town. And we'll be implementing those in partnership with the Water Resources team and the Water, what's it called? Water Smart. Yeah, Water Smart team. I should know, I'm on the team. And then finally, we haven't gotten told the exact number we're getting, but we're getting something from State Trails in partnership with local organization Wildlands Restoration Volunteers, and that will fund some trail work up at Button Rock. So that's really, Price is handling a lot of the logistics on that, and then Ashley and I will be running
some trainings and volunteer events in partnership with Wildlands Restoration Volunteers to do some significant reroutes on Sleepy Lion and South Cove Trail. So that's it for grants. Strategic plan development. I'm getting a strategic plan in place, which is something our program has never had before, in part because we never had an official program. So that will be done this spring, and I'll present it to y'all once it's complete. And then a big thing we're doing this year now that we have Kirsten on board is integrating Sandstone Ranch programming. She has a whole volunteer program out there. They do field trips and recreation, and I, since we're sort of joint supervising that position, just trying to get all of that merged into what we're already doing. That's a big challenge this year. We have an internal sort of new collaboration with sustainability. Ashley in particular will be working with them more at outreach events and getting some more sustainability curriculum into what we're already doing, and vice versa. And then we're also working on some relationships with indigenous communities in the area. So Harvest of All First Nations is a nonprofit, I think based out of Boulder, is that right? So we'll be working with them on we're doing for example, a choke cherry planting at Button Rock this year. Those choke cherries, one, great for the ecology in that area, and also we can later, once they're established, harvest those choke cherries and distribute them to local indigenous communities or the Northern Arapaho Reservation up in Wyoming for ceremonial use. And we'll be doing education, some new interpretive signage, integrating some of that history, and that kind of thing. We'll also be working a little bit more with the Sister Cities program here in Longmont. That's the gist. I think there's nothing else. Let me confirm. Yeah, let's see if this link works. It might. Yeah. So here's what we have coming up in the next few months. I'm not going to make you guys look at it, but I think we have 22 events between now and the end of May. So that's kind of our spring schedule, and we've done close to 10 already this year, which is unusual for winter. So we have a lot going on. This is where we track everything. It's not that interesting right now, but soon it will be full of numbers and links and all sorts of stuff. So a lot coming up. It's exciting.
You mentioned Chick Clark.
Oh yeah, this Saturday we have Chick Clark. Yeah, Dan knows. Dan's helping with that, of course, always. If you aren't aware, Chick Clark is, how many years have we been doing it, Dan?
23.
23 years, okay. We'll have 120-ish kids out this Saturday across the street at Isaac Walton fishing program. It's kind of an educational event where they also get a free fishing rod if they check all the boxes and visit all of our educational stations. It should be really fun. Feel free to swing by. Hopefully it's not too windy. We'll see. Yeah, that's all I've got. Any questions?
Any questions for Open Space Division at all?
Thank you. Go back to this.
With that. All right. My name is Jim. I'm the ecosystem manager, and so my staff couldn't be here tonight. They just actually switched to their 4 10-hour schedule after doing their winter 5/8s. And so they start at 6 in the morning and then losing an hour yesterday. There's probably not enough coffee in the world to keep them awake right now. But anyway, so basically who we are, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll have 8 technicians within our group, and we split those technicians up between a wildlife team, a vegetation management team, and then one of our accomplishments last year was to add a senior planning ecologist that is helping us plan and will eventually help us implement our restoration projects on open spaces, nature areas, riparian corridors, and really any other property in the city that has any other ecological value. Really, we're kind of just a bunch of science nerds, and we get to implement that science in the field to conserve and protect and restore the ecology on city properties. So getting a little bit more detail in terms of what we do, don't want to read through everything, but like I said, we have wildlife management, which includes going through city properties that to be able to document baseline inventories on our properties to know what kind of wildlife is using our properties, so that will help us inform how to protect those properties and how to restore them. to benefit the city's wildlife. We do a lot of prairie dog management, whether it's through trying to install barriers to keep prairie dogs where we want them to, trying to move prairie dogs from areas that we don't want them. We do a lot of raptor nest monitoring and other bird monitoring. Like rangers out at Union Reservoir, we help with aquatic nuisance species management. So we unfortunately do have a lot of aquatic nuisance species, not just at Union Reservoir, but in other ponds on our properties and in riparian corridors. We help try to mitigate wildlife-human conflicts. So being an urban area, I'm sure if anybody lives in town and have live anywhere close to any of our nature areas or open spaces, you probably have some critters in your yard. And some people don't like that. It's understandable, but we try to help people try to mitigate those conflicts so that we don't have to resort to people having to use lethal controls to do that. And unfortunately, one of the other things with wildlife management is our disease mitigation, which is unfortunately it seems like it's getting worse. So right now, I'm sure you're all aware avian flu is widespread. Over the last few cold spells, we've had quite a number of die-offs of birds, particularly Canada geese, on a lot of our parks and open spaces and nature areas. And so we will respond to those calls and actually clean up those dead birds to try to mitigate any disease spread. So that's what our wildlife team does. Vegetation management, first and foremost, is really invasive and noxious weed control. We use integrated pest management, so that's trying to incorporate a variety of control techniques. So whether that's mechanical with digging up weeds or mowing, chemical controls with herbicide, biological controls with insects that actually will target specific species of weeds. And then we also do monitoring, prescribed fire with the help of rangers, open space staff, and our fire department, and doing restoration, which includes native plant propagation. And Taylor showed a photo of some of the stuff that's going on in our greenhouse that we just got built. I think it's going on 3 years now that it's built, and so now we're really starting to kick up plant production there, so we can use those native plants out on our landscapes, whether it's for a pollinator garden for parks, or whether it's actually out on an open space or a nature area and trying to restore habitat for wildlife. Like pretty much everybody, we do a lot of public outreach, so our staff, being the science geeks that we are, we do help with some educational programming, volunteer projects. Usually when I step into Taylor's office, it's to request her help and Ashley's help with volunteer projects, because we couldn't do everything that's out there without volunteers. There's just so much to do out there, so we really do appreciate the help from Taylor and Ashley to get those projects done. We do provide technical assistance, so like I said, with like wildlife mitigation on people's properties, we get calls from people that are asking what's a good native plant for my landscaping, so I'll help out with that. And then Taylor briefly mentioned that we do have a research grant program, which is a great program that actually Dan helped start up, similar to a lot of programs that other neighboring open space agencies have. So we provide, we usually earmark about $10,000 to $15,000 a year to provide small grants to researchers to either do resource inventories on our property or actually do research studies on open spaces or nature areas or any other city property. To really better help inform what's going on our properties and help inform and improve our management of the properties. We also help with updating policies and procedures citywide. And we do a lot of help too with other departments in the city, providing that natural resources, ecological expertise for other work groups in the city. And we'll touch base on some of those. Some of the other stuff we do, want to highlight, we also have our West Nile virus prevention program that is within our natural resource program, which I think is a little bit different than maybe some other communities do. I think it's actually a highlight that our ecological program manages our West Nile virus prevention program. It's not like some just straight public health program. We also try to do our West Nile virus prevention in a way that is ecologically sound. So a lot of accomplishments. Like I said, a lot of wildlife monitoring. I think one of the cool things that we get to do is monitor our raptor nests in town. So we've had identified 60 active raptor nests around city limits and just outside of city limits. So it's pretty telling. We do that because raptors are kind of top of the food chain. So if they're doing really well, that indicates the rest of our ecosystems are doing well. So having 60 active nests, and I would say probably a majority of those were successful in producing young that were able to leave the nest. I think that's a testament to really Longmont's commitment to protecting our environment and how well those raptors are doing. We survey all sorts of animals, so we did some fish surveying, we do other breeding birds, macroinvertebrates, and other times bats, reptiles, which includes frogs, amphibians, reptiles. One of the other highlights, if you're all familiar with Resilient St. Vrain Project, just under design is our next reach called the Hover Reach, which is kind of from Sunset Bridge that will go up to Lincoln's Gulch by the Golden Ponds. There is a pretty unique habitat for, they're called bank swallows that nest over by the pedestrian bridge over here. And so we were doing a study to figure out how to mitigate potential impacts to that bank swallow habitat. There are species that are on the decline in Boulder County, so we want to do our best to try to protect those swallows, whether that's on site there or try to provide other habitat elsewhere. We did relocate with the help of our prairie dog advocate volunteers over 1,000 prairie dogs from properties where, particularly out at Dry Creek Community Park, where the next phase is going to be developed. So we had the opportunity to relocate those prairie dogs, which 700 from that property. That's probably one of these bigger relocations that not just City of Longmont has ever done, but most other cities have done. So I think that's a really another great testament to Longmont, our community's commitment to trying to conserve our wildlife. So although those prairie dogs are going to be compatible with the future phase of Dry Creek Community Park, we were able to relocate them down to an old chemical depot site that's under restoration down in Pueblo. And their hopes there are to be able to have enough prairie dogs and enough prairie dog acreage there to release the endangered black-footed ferret onto that property. So for Longmont to be able to contribute to that success story is pretty cool. Like I said, we provide guidance, technical assistance for other departments in the city. So some of the stuff that we helped out within Parks and Natural Resources was some guidelines on the new lighting on the amazing new turf field out at Dry Creek Community Park, helping up at Butt Rock with evaluating the most appropriate places to realign some trails, helping with the trail planning for Union Reservoir and St. Vrain Greenway Phase 12 and 13. And so that's really important for us to do so that we can try to locate these trails that are in the best place that are lessening as much as we can the impact to our environment. Vegetation management. Unfortunately, we've got 29 different species of weeds that we treated, which is a lot, but that's on about a little over 100 acres of property on 30 different properties. We stepped foot on close to 2,000 acres of property, so we're looking at about 5% of the property that had some weed infestations that really needed attention. So pretty good at it. Like I said, we like to try to do integrated weed management, so we've initiated some goat grazing trials around the reservoir to see how well they're able to control weeds. And then down at the bottom, you'll see that we released 2 different species of biocontrol insects that specifically target these 3 species of weeds there. And so we'll see how well they do and continue to monitor that and see if they're successful or not. Bryce, you mentioned drone technology. That's something that we started to initiate in 2024 as well. One of my staff was able to get his drone license, and so we started to use that to improve our weed monitoring. So just like Bryce was saying, it can be really efficient to monitor property when you don't have to step foot on every square foot of it, and you can have a drone fly over it and try to point out where issues are. Some more accomplishments. So we had 13 volunteer projects that my staff was able to help lead with Ashley and Taylor. Last year was the last year that my work group was responsible for hosting the Chippewa Kids Fishing Program, but now that Taylor's program is growing and has a little bit more capacity, she's taking it over this year. Thank you. We had 9 environmental education programs that my staff helped lead, everything from soils to actually how to collect different weed species that are edible and turn them into food. So some fun stuff. So continue to check out Taylor's program to see what kind of programs are going on this year. And then mentioning the research projects. So we did funded four projects last year. One was to model fuels, grassland fuels for wildfire. There's a lot of great information on forested areas and how they might react to wildfire, but not a lot on different types of grasslands. So I think you're all aware of the Marshall Fire, and this really kicked that off to help us better plan and how to protect our community from grassland fires. Two projects that we funded for studying the effects of herbicides on our environment. Like I said, we do integrated pest management, and with our herbicide use, we really want to make sure that we're using herbicides responsibly, and having more research to know how they might impact the environment is really important for us. And then Taylor mentioned our bee habitat project. So we're putting out those bee logs that have different sized holes in them, and we've got a researcher that's going to be visiting those to identify what different species are utilizing them, and seeing how well they're utilized. And then one of the other great things I mentioned, we just hired our senior planning ecologist. And so his first real main project is to develop what we're calling land service plans. And that's really going to be collecting our baseline ecological conditions of our properties, and then identifying what's the best potential habitat we can create on those properties, and lay out the steps from how to get from A to B with different restoration steps. So that's going to be something that we just started, and thinking that it's going to be on a 3 to 5 year timeline right now is my best guesstimate on how long it's going to take to start completing some restoration plans for our properties. Yeah, fun one of the goats that we put out actually a couple of years ago on a different greenway. So in terms of our goals, I mentioned the Break Swallow project, so we want to start planning and trying to plan to implement some sort of habitat mitigation for that. We are in the middle of about halfway done with installing over 2,000 feet of new prairie dog barrier, which is really great because that really helps us not have to do any sort of lethal control on prairie dogs or have to move them. Continue more wildlife surveys. Danielle mentioned Sanford Greenway Phase 12 is getting underway for design, and so we will help provide some of that ecological information to plan that trail. And one of the cool things, my staff was able to get acoustic monitoring equipment that we can use to monitor frog calls and actually subsonically bat calls. And so that really helps us to be able to put these out in areas, because even though we do our best to try to mitigate our own impacts to the environment, anytime anybody's out in an open space area, you can have some impacts to wildlife and scare them off. And so by being able to put this equipment out into our open spaces, we can leave that equipment out there for a month, put it out there, takes about a couple hours to set it up, leave it out there a month, go back out there, collect that data, and so it really limits the amount of time that we're out potentially disturbing wildlife. We'll continue to do more weed control, really hoping that with our weed control, our main goal is to be able to touch every single one of our properties at least once to do some sort of weed control on those properties. Continue to monitor the effectiveness of the insects that we release, monitor the goat grazing effectiveness. At some point, it sounds like we may be presenting to PRAB with code enforcement, some updates to the city's weed control code for private property. And really the point of that is to more emphasize private property owners' responsibility to control not just weeds and not just dandelions, but then also to be able to encourage native landscaping in people's yards. Like I said, with Jake Clark, that's a Saturday. We'll plan on some more environmental education programs, and like I mentioned, continuing on those land service plans, and also explore, like Bryce, trying to use drones a little bit more. We've had some contacts with our Safe Rain Innovation Center. They have not just a drone performance team, but a drone, science team, I guess you could say. So they've got a lot of cool ideas for how to use drones, and so we're hoping that we can partner with them and also Front Range Community College and their drone program to help us with our resource management. I think that's it. There you go. Any questions?
No questions.
Are you okay in time as far as the board? Do you want to?
This is the last one?
We have two.
Okay.
I'll let you all can decide if you want to keep going.
You want to extend? Or you want to put a motion on the table to extend past 8:30?
Make a motion to send past 8:30 for the whole presentation.
Second that. Great. All those in favor? All right. And Sam, I can't hear you, but it passed. Your vote counts. We just don't need it. All right. So we're good. We're good. You can keep going.
Cool. Being sensitive to time, I'll keep it brief. My name's Brett. I'm the city forester and acting park superintendent until we find a replacement. So really our mission is to provide safe, clean, and green, well-maintained, and attractive public environments for all of our citizens and visitors of Longmont. We have many staff that do anything from facility maintenance, irrigation maintenance, horticultural maintenance, and then full-time arborists. Just let pass through this stuff. Grant was working a different version because I thought I hid those. So looking at some of the accomplishments from our irrigation team. So really the goal of our irrigation team is to keep things green, right? Keep plants living. Without irrigation, we can't have trees, we can't have, well, we can have some grasses, but a lot of those shrubs and things won't survive. So not only do we work on parks and greenways, right-of-ways, we have to work on all the development projects too. So anywhere where there's new subdivisions built along those greenways, we have to inspect, or along those right-of-ways, we can inspect all that new landscape material and irrigation equipment that's being put in. Occasionally we have to dredge a pond, so we can get all the silt out, so we can increase the volume of that holding capacity, because we use raw water for irrigation in some parts of our parks. Here's a cool picture of a pump station with a pipe that failed. So we have some like major pump systems. So we have staff that are trained to maintain those. We're also doing a conversion to Toro DXI irrigation controllers, which looks like this. So we go from a system that can only be controlled from a desktop computer, having one person controlling that system, to having a mobile-friendly system that staff can utilize out in the field. That it's much better than using like handheld radios. We also maintain 222 backflows, and then we keep things like the pond at Rogers Grove from overflowing. Like there's an overflow pump that went out, and like the pond filled up like 8 feet higher last summer. And I was like, this looks great. And Chris was like, well, if we let it go, it'll flood Boston Avenue. So and things like that in place. Then we have Justin on our facilities team. Pretty much everything that is not living, he works on. So things from like keeping our streetlights downtown from tipping over. We had all these all-thread bolts that were rusting off and lamps just falling over. So they retrofitted all of those lamps and replaced those downtown. Now they're working at Roosevelt Park this summer and doing the same thing with all the decorative lighting. Let's see, big one, vandalism. So we had 51 work orders for vandalism, totaling $18,000 last year. Sandstone Ranch gets beat up every single weekend by vandalism. Whole doors are replaced, whole bathrooms are replaced. It happens over and over and over. Keeps our team really busy. Let's see. Yeah, we have custodial services. We have every single bathroom is cleaned by a contractor. We spend over $100,000 just on cleaning the bathrooms in the parks every year. Let's see, pass through that. So Ben, our horticultural supervisor, one of the big things that he's working on is non-functional turf conversion. So is turf bad? Not necessarily. It's really easy to maintain comparatively to other landscapes. However, we can look for other ways to reduce our water use by putting in lower water use grasses. So that's one of the big things that Ben is working on. I did shoot the other copy. So he had this really cool stat here. So he maintains like 160 football fields worth of turf in the city. And we spent, over $700,000 a year just on contracted services to maintain landscapes across the city, as well as all the staff internally that maintains landscape beds, doing string trimming, mowing athletic fields. A lot of work happening out there. Let's see here. Boom, pass through that. So Ben's sort of on the forefront, on the front range in terms of cities that are pushing this landscape conversion. So Ben has really been tapped to train other cities on on what's working in terms of landscape conversion. So back to the slide here, he's working with this group, what is it called? The Water Now Alliance. So they gave us some free work to, they put a map together all across the city in detailed places where we should work on these turf conversions. So looking at if it's not being programmed for athletics, these are non-functional areas, where can we focus those events and get the biggest bang for the buck of reducing our water usage? Let's see, non-functional turf accounts for 75% of all the turf that we maintain in parks. In most sets in parks and ditches. 44% of that non-functional turf is irrigated with treated water, but it kind of depends on the location. Forestry, so this is more near and dear to my heart. We have a lot of cool equipment and do a lot of cool things. Anywhere from pruning some of the biggest American elms in town to replacing trees downtown. That's a lot of work doing that. Keeping trees alive from beavers, putting cages around them. We're right in the midst of planting season, so we have 350 trees in our nursery out back. So we're working 5 days a week planting trees in town. We do big tree removals. We host the Arbor Day tree sale, which if any of you are participating in, we have a lottery that just closed and the lottery spun today. So if you got picked, you should be notified if you're one of those recipients. We maintain about 22,000 trees across the city, plant 350 to 400 trees a year. We have an Arbor Day tree program where we sell 250 to 350 trees a year. And we are a Tree City USA for 45 years, I just found out. We were going to do a really cool program this year. We were awarded IRA funding to help property owners maintain their large canopy shade trees. That grant funding was pulled, so we're no longer doing that. But because we were awarded that, Boulder County's looking at giving us $200,000 next year from sustainability funding to keep that program going, or I guess get it out of the ground since we can start. So that was good things. All right, keep it short.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When do you think you'll plant the fruit trees at Clover?
I was just thinking about that while sitting here. We need time.
Okay.
All right. Trees ready to go.
Okay, I'm Ben, Recreation and Golf Superintendent, and it's Parks and Recreation. So we're going to start the second half of our presentation.
Yes.
My folks are supposed to get here about 5 minutes from now, and we'll keep going. Now, this will go pretty quick. And we will, as we did last year, we have a metrics presentation we'll be doing to you guys. So those are going to be a lot of our numbers that we're going to be putting together. So we're going to talk more about just the accomplishments. I'm not going to go through all the stuff we do. You get the brochure, take a look. It's good stuff. There's a lot of it. So, we've got about 31 staff currently that I added up. I think that's catching everybody within our area. Oh, 30, maybe 33 with Jim and Derek. Area supervisors, they cover multiple service areas. Each one of them have a supervisor underneath them, 2 program supervisors, and Phil in the pool is a maintenance supervisor. And underneath them, we've got our coordinators who make the engine go for everything we do. On top of that, Callahan House, Brittany's done an amazing job there in the last couple of years since she's gotten going. And really a new coordinator staff for athletics in the last really year and a half, 2 years. And they're really nailing it now. We just had a pool technician get started, John. Very excited about him. Young man who knows his stuff. It's cool to see. He can hit the ground running, which is, that's tough stuff. Pool rats are special. And then, of course, our admins, including the wonderful Veronica over here, who keep us going every day. All right, accomplishments. We have just a few. This was the big one last year, getting that 4th of July going. Hopefully a few of you went. It was a great time. Put this all together. Ton of credit to Sam Calhoun, who is our special event coordinator, and everybody involved. This was multiple folks in the city. This went really well. It was a lot of fun. Honestly, once we got there, not that hard, other than Jeff and I learning how to be a gatekeeper of it. We weren't really planning on. We learned a lot. We did a count of about 9,600, but we know that right around us there's another couple thousand. And then you go out to the area around Harvest Junction and over by the rec center, you've got thousands more. The drone show was amazing. Everybody loved it. We are re-prepping for that this year. Just had a meeting on that. Very excited about it. And we're going through the plan. Like I said, we learned a lot this last year. Make sure I'm getting my notes as I'm doing this too. Yep. Any questions about the 4th of July for this year? Got lots of suggestions. Right one. Centennial pool upgrades. We completely redid the surface. We completely redid the surface of Centennial Pool. This was a big deal. Centennial is, anybody who's been around for a little while, we have fought with it for sure the last few years. We had a major flood a few years ago. Had to go through that. We've had leaking. It's an old building. It is 42-ish years old. Yeah. So what we did, we went through and based on everything that happened the last couple of years with the bond and such, we know we got to get some more years out of this building. So our solution for certainly the time being and foreseeable future, added this new surface. We did this in the rec center the year before. That this is a 25-year surface. It completely seals everything that was done. So far, so good. We've still got some, I'm not going to call them leaks. It's some weeping on the backside in the pump room, but really coming along. On top of that, they really did some great work. Our walkway was redone. We got rid of the bleachers, which was a huge project that our guys did, which then allowed us to move the workout area over from the one side to the other. It just made it a lot more functional. Now there's actually a workout area that's really dedicated and posts on it, people walking through. So if you live on that side of town, you want to do a workout, this is now a really good spot. We've added some equipment. We're going to keep tweaking it, making it really nice. Ice rink. Well, you guys know the sun over here. Chiller. We got a new chiller, and it got in, and we got open in time. Some hiccups at the beginning. we love Train and all of their folks for sure. It worked great through almost all the season, a couple of hiccups here at the end, but we are very excited about next year. Got this new, we got a pump in, because the pump wasn't quite matching. The new pump's very quiet, which is great around that neighborhood. As we all know, the 8th Street kind of struggles with sound around there, so that's been a good addition. Flexible hoses instead of the poly is a really nice thing for the staff. When we put them away, we can just roll them up, put them on a pallet, and put them away. It'll be a lot easier. So this is a huge deal. And then you add in, we added 4 feet to the rink this year with some additional mats, and that has to do with the additional capacity. So the rink actually got a little bit bigger. The fencing and the surround was added to, so that it's a lot more secure. We really got to the point we wanted to be the last couple of years, and it's really very exciting out there. And we're closed as of yesterday, right? We wrapped up our tournament yesterday. And all the credit and love to Sarah Taylor and Phil Henry on that one. They did a lot of work this year getting that going. Rex and our improvements. A few things this year. We got the changing bays. If you've been in there, the flooring. We've kind of fought it forever. What's the best solution to that? Well, we're trying something new. Using a poly floor in there. So far, so good. We really like it. It's sealed up well. Response from patrons is pretty good. And actually, it's just extra stuff that the facilities folks had. So we didn't actually have to spend money on it. And able to kind of reuse something that was left over from another project, which we're really excited to do. Same thing with LVT plank flooring in the multi-use room. That's leftover stuff from another project that we were able to put in. It looks beautiful, needed to be done. And then the parking lot did get restriped this year, which is amazing. Took a little bit longer than we wanted during a little bit busy time, but we got through it. So, and then we did add LED lighting to the gym, which is always a great thing. It makes the lighting a lot more flexible, brighter. Obviously, it will last longer, and then energy efficient. Union has been talked about a ton, and my biggest point here is to point out that the teamwork that has happened with Union, with the Rangers and Parks Maintenance folks and ourselves is amazing. It is really culminated in the last 2 years. On top of it being busy, the busiest it's ever been out there by wide margins. The revenues keep going up, the usage keeps going up. It's part of that is because we're able to work together to allow more folks in. We've been working on lines. We're getting better at that. Just really all credit to the team on this one. And I wanted to point that out because it's a culmination of a couple of years things. It's not just this last year, but really proud of my guys and love working with these guys. And it's just something we look forward to now, year to year. Excited to get that open again. Well, it's open, but you know what, swimming. Okay, and then a couple things to hit on here. New credit card process. This was a big deal behind the scenes. $140,000 of, I'm going to call it savings. It's not, didn't quite work that way. Basically, what we've done is the 140 was covered by everyone. So all the patrons, the city. It was eaten that way. Now, people who are using the credit cards that we get charged for are paying for it themselves. And so that's the way this came about. And it's gone very well. Yes, there's some grumbling, of course, and we all understand that. But it is something that needed to happen. And overall, it's gone very smoothly. And everybody's understanding. You realize that we go out in the world, if you use a credit card, it's a good chance that's going to come up. The transition has been great, though. Very smooth. Excuse me, I'm coming off a cold. I should be coughing on that. And then revenue, I'll leave golf, that's golf board. But recreation did reach its highest ever revenue at $4,435,000. It was a 4% increase over 2023, which was good. But that we lost 3 major events, either canceled or severely disrupted by weather, including Turkey Trot and Rhythm at Roosevelt was severely depleted because of rain. Those are big revenue producers for us. So we would have really gotten very close to 4.5 here if we had a normal season for that stuff. So, and I'll add on to that we're very excited about this year. The first couple months are good. You guys have that in the packet. And then one other thing I want to make sure I mention is we did complete you guys saw our master plan update. So that is done at this point. We're going through the process of making sure that we're acknowledging that, utilizing some of the strategies and goals within it as we formulate how we move forward in the future. And one more. Recreation goals. These are the ones we come up with for the division. So these are everybody. Each service area, like we've got multiple service areas. We've got athletics. We've got general programs. We've got therapeutic recreation, aquatics, of course. They all have their own goals, and we're not going to get into all of those. But for us, marketing is something we're not great at, but we're working on it. And we've got a really good team with the city that we've been working well with. So we're seeing some advances in that. So get us out there, share our story a little bit better. Brochure is one thing, everybody loves it, but beyond that, trying to take that next step. Safety plans is so important to us for all the people that we serve, the 1 million+ people that we touch in a year. We want to make sure they're safe, we're safe, our facilities are safe. So going through and reviewing our EAPs is something we've been working on. We're going to try to get some finalized this year. And then we do an emergency training at the rec center every April. We're going to do it again this April. That we'll get over 100 staff members. We do multiple stations. People really enjoy it. We get a lot out of it. Focused customer service, it's huge to us. People can choose to come see us or not. So making sure that we get a couple trainings. Budget's very light for that. So we've done, our last one we did some TED Talk trainings and then discussion on those. Actually really successful for zero cost except to pay folks to be there. So we'll probably do something around one of those lines again this year. Community impact, and let's see. Yeah, so this has to do with our metrics and things we're working on for this year. So last year we kind of established a big baseline for a lot of the major things, and you guys saw that. You'll see this year's report coming out the next time we don't have the land swap thing. And what we want to work on this year is expanding our program evaluation. So we do a lot of it in a lot of different ways. And so we have a committee within REC that's working on trying to make it a little more equal across the board. It can't be perfectly equal because an aerobics class isn't the same as a day camp. So we're trying to make it so we can kind of compare some things across the board. And then getting out to the community and in the areas that we don't. So there are parts of our community that don't come see us as much as we would like them to. And so trying to get out there actively into neighborhoods, offer some programs at parks. Some parks are a little bit more challenging. We've been focusing on those. We're going to continue that and look for those opportunities, working with other city departments, including parks, including children and youth resources, to get us out there and then hopefully get those folks back in. So, and then I had two more. I think we're going to get a robot painter. They're convincing me. I haven't been convinced of the durability, but I'm getting good report. I'm hearing 22 minutes on a full-size soccer field that takes our guys 3 to 4 hours. So it's something. And so I think we're going to do that. We actually had budgeted for it 5 years ago, so I feel pretty smart at that. And then we are working on a new amenity for the play structure at the rec center. We are hoping for this year. We don't know that. This is one. We've got a couple other things we're working on that we really have to make sure that they get done. But we'd love to see if we can get that in August. That'll be a huge impact. That's going to be that tall structure, replace that entirely. We've got a few different things around it too that we're going to do that will really just renew that area and make it new and fun for kids again. So they're really excited about that.
Is that the swimming pool then?
Yeah, at the rec center, the main leisure area. That's all I've got. Any questions about our stuff? It's getting late. Thank you.
All right, so before we move on to the other items on the agenda, I just wanted to again say, if I don't say it enough, how much I appreciate the time and effort that goes into these presentations. Yes, this might be my favorite agenda topic of the year, every year. So I'd love to see this and I'd love to hear you all firsthand to speak about what you've been working on. And I really see like the energy and like the passion that you put into your job. And I just, I love that. It really makes me feel like I'm in a great community to be in. Okay, thank you all again. All right, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is discussing items from the packet updates. Are there any items you want to raise in the packet updates? Who wants to keep us here? I keep them later. I'm just kidding. I forgot about Sam. Sorry, Sam. You're still with us. Yeah.
I was going to make one other comment about Thompson Park.
Oh, Thompson Park.
Okay, so,
All time.
so after school today, the entire school emptied out into the park, and they were there till 5.
There's 400 kids at Thompson today after school. Her kids go to Central, and 400. I thought, 400. That's funny, but it sounds like it was.
I should have made it bigger for now. Yeah, it is a lot of like, we want to take over the whole park.
I love that. That's amazing.
And that wall is away.
Yeah, I did that wall.
You guys didn't see it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm glad.
Can we lose Sam? Yes. Okay. All right. You heard it. All right, let's move on. Items from staff.
I think you heard
All right, items from the board.
I have something.
Yes.
So I mentioned this, I think, to a couple folks independently. I would be interested in coordinating some visit to the distal toll properties. There's a couple other members that were interested as well. Safety and access is a bit of an issue, I know, out there, but we also can't do it at the same time because of the meeting stuff. So I would just ask if staff is interested. Some of us, I think, we just invite on our own, but if we could work on maybe choosing a day or doing something staggered or.
I would be happy. I would put myself out there if people want to contact me, and I can then coordinate one or two, or see if staff could do that too. But again, we really can't go out to the properties, but there's places we can get off the road or not and look at them. I think that if people like to do that in ones or twos. Jeff, are you okay with that? That I can just be that contact, and maybe Jim and me. But we'll make sure that we follow the guidelines, the rules, and we'll get you out there.
Do you want to try and maybe help with yourself or myself to offer dates that might work?
We can do that.
Yeah.
We'll work on and get hold of everything.
We can do it, at least myself, nice between now and April. Whether we make a decision or not in April, to have that context after school is still on properties. Okay.
I won't say another property.
No, look, I haven't been here enough.
You can look into the
But
property.
I've driven by quickly, as you know,
else to raise questions, to like bounce questions and stuff to, like that kind of thing.
So I think we can go like 2 at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could offer some dates or times that would work. I think there's a few of us at least that would be interested. Thank you.
Any other items from the board that you want to raise? Okay. Who wants to adjourn?
I
the
move
meeting?
that we end this celebratory meeting of accomplishments right now.
On that motion, okay. All those in favor, we're adjourned.
You all-